Hi, so we're back again with the Incra LS positioner. Today I'm going to be showing you how to cut some dovetail joints with it. It's the same setup that I've been using previously. We've got a Incra router table, the Master Lift 2 router lift with the AEG MF router slung underneath it. Also, I've installed the new Incra Clean Sweep dust extraction system underneath the table, and we'll be taking a look at that a little bit later on. First of all, what I want to show you though is the two pamphlets, or the two booklets that come with the LS positioner. And I think that once everything's set up correctly, cutting a dovetail joint with this system here is really simple, but it's getting the setup right that counts the most. So we'll go and have a look at the brochures and see how we get on. Okay, so this is the standard master reference guide here from Incra. This has got all the imperial templates in it, and then we've got the metric edition here. So what we're going to be looking at first of all, we'll just turn here to page 2. Is a 3-step process basically. We're looking at setting the depth of cut first, then we're going to be looking at centering the bit on the workpiece, and once those 2 steps are made, then we can then start cutting some dovetails. So I'll just come over here to our template guide in metric. It starts off with box joints, which we won't be looking at today. We'll come over to the dovetails. Okay, so you can see that the first dovetails here are very fine. This is here using an 8mm diameter router bit with a 10-degree angle. This is a little bit too fine for what we want to do today, because if you look at the stock thickness here, or basically the thickness of the wood, they're suggesting 8 to 10 millimeters. And what we're using today is 15 millimeters. So as we come down through here, we find our 10 to 14 millimeter, 10 to 14, 14 to 18 millimeter. Now this here is using a 1/2 inch or 12.7 millimeter dovetail bit at a 7-degree angle. And this is what we're going to be using today. As we flick through here, you can see we can go all the way 18 to 24 millimeter size wood, right the way through 24 to 30 millimeter size wood. And this here, of course, is using a router bit, or a dovetail bit, 12 millimeter shank, 16 millimeters wide. So let's come back. I'll turn this around. That's your standard 1/2 inch dovetail bit. This has a 13-degree angle and a 12 millimeter shank. For the larger stock, this is the one we'll be using today. This is the little one, 8 millimeter shank. It's 12.7 millimeters wide and only a 7-degree angle on the bit here. So what we're going to need to set up is we've got a piece of wood here for cutting the center, or discovering the center of the work. 2 pieces of wood for the depth. We need a backing board, and then here are our 4 pieces of wood here that we'll use to make our box today. Now, one interesting thing about this is that you really need to look at what template you want to use, or what pattern you want to use here, before deciding the width, here of the wood that you want to use. So let me show you. Here we've got the template MDOVH. So this is a little bit wider spaced pattern, and it suggests here a center cut of 8A. So what we do is we come here to 8A, and we take our piece of wood, I'll use the center piece of wood, and put it on 8A. Like so. Okay. Now what you can see here, I'll just bring the camera around, is you've got this is the pin here, and you can see there's quite a lot of wood there, and this is what you want. You don't want a very thin pin on each side, and this is also perfect. Okay, this wood here is 100 wide, and so for this template this is really good. But let me show you something. Here was my original piece of wood that I wanted to use. This is beech. And as you can see, this is 95 millimeters wide and 20 millimeters thick. Now, when I come to my templates here, I see that I cannot use this template here with my standard 12.7mm router bit. I've got to come down here and use the bigger router bit. The bigger router bit's the 16mm one. This is this one that I showed you previously. Now 97mm, let's see if we can find something that will fit. So 8A is the center, and if I come over to the center of my wood here, let me show you something. And there's my problem. There is absolutely hardly any pin remaining. So if I'd gone ahead and decided to buy all of this wood and then put it on a template, it's actually not going to work. So a good tip is to take a look at the template you want to use first with the thickness of wood you want, say for a drawer front, and then actually decide on the total width of the wood. And this means right from the very planning stage of your project, you've really got to think carefully about the template and router bit that you want to use. Okay, so I'll put these pieces of wood away. Right, here are my sides of my drawer. Now these here were cut on a table saw, and as you can imagine, one side has a very, very smooth cut, and the other side is really, really rough. Okay, I'll show you another little trick. When we come here to this guide, and when we start looking at cutting, here we're on page 7 of the guide, and these are the tail cuts, and this is figure number 31. Now as you can see when you go to, I'll bring it a little bit closer. Okay, when you go to cut these, you can see you're taking wood away from one side of the side of the box only. So what I've done here is on the wood I've marked outside rabbets, and where this rough edge is, this is the edge we're actually going to take away with the router bit. So when the box is when the dovetail joint's finished, you're going to have this beautiful smooth edge that's going to be seen, and this rabbet here is the one that's going to be hidden. Okay, so that's basically showing you the setup as far as the templates and everything are concerned. What we'll do now is we'll start getting ready to cut some dovetails.